Hey, have you ever woken up after a full 8 hours of sleep feeling absolutely exhausted? Or had a dull, persistent ache in your shoulder that just won't quit, even though you haven't lifted anything heavier than a remote control? Maybe you've found yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., your mind racing through the week's endless to-do list. Or perhaps certain foods that you used to love now send your stomach into knots. If you recognize any of those feelings, then hold that thought, because your body is trying to tell you a story, a complex, dramatic, and essential narrative about the state of your inner world, a story that we are all tragically and systematically trained to ignore, which is exactly what we're going to unpack right now. Before we dive into the silent, critical conversation your body is having with your mind, I have a quick and very important request for you. This is a brand new channel, and we are setting a huge goal for ourselves. We are on a mission to hit 100 subscribers, and your single click is the absolute difference maker in that journey. Help us build this community of self-awareness. It costs you nothing but a moment of your time, and it means everything for the future of this channel. Take a second right now to hit that subscribe button, and please, if you find any value in this message, smash the like button. We are trying to get 50 likes on this video to show the algorithm that this critical message is worth sharing with everyone who needs to hear it. Do it now, and then prepare to learn the language you were taught to forget. The silent, unmistakable language of the soul expressed through the symptom. The central premise is simple, yet profoundly overlooked. The body is not just a vessel for the mind. It is the mind's emotional seismograph, recording every tremor of stress, every silent shockwave of trauma, and every slow, grinding pressure of unexpressed feeling long before the conscious mind admits there's a problem. And the way it communicates these internal overloads is through mild, persistent, seemingly physical symptoms that we casually dismiss with ibuprofen, a little more caffeine, or the age-old, totally useless advice to just push through it. We've all been there, right? You get that low-grade tension headache that sits right behind your eyes, and instead of asking why your head is hurting, you simply reach for the painkiller, effectively silencing the messenger before it can deliver its urgent note. But the message doesn't disappear. It just gets louder, more insistent, eventually transforming from a whisper of tension into a full-throated scream of chronic illness. And it's time we understood the translation. Let's begin with one of the most common physical manifestations of an emotional overload: the tension headache and neck pain. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, not doing anything physically strenuous, yet your shoulders are hiked up around your ears. Your jaw is clenched so tightly you could crack a walnut, and there's a band of pure pressure tightening around your forehead. The physical origin? Muscle strain. The emotional origin? Unbearable burden, control anxiety, and unexpressed anger. When we feel responsible for things outside our control, when we constantly brace ourselves for the next disaster, or when we suppress a fierce, justifiable anger, our muscles, particularly in the neck and shoulders, physically prepare for a fight or flight response that never comes. They tense up, holding the weight of our unmanaged world. Consider Sarah, a project manager who constantly took on extra work to compensate for her team's shortcomings, telling herself it was easier to do it herself than to train them properly. She started getting daily tension headaches that no amount of medication could fully erase. Her neck was always stiff, a physical expression of her feeling that she was carrying the entire company on her shoulders. The moment she acknowledged this emotional burden, the deep-seated fear that if she let go, everything would fall apart, she began the process of delegating, setting boundaries, and allowing others to fail. Slowly, as her emotional load lightened, the physical tension literally melted away, a direct correlation showing the burden wasn't just figurative. It was held in her very posture. Her body was speaking clearly. You are holding too much responsibility. Release the weight. Next, let's explore the terror of the twilight hours: insomnia and sleep disruption. This is perhaps the most obvious symptom of an emotional crisis, yet we blame our mattresses, our coffee intake, or the blue light from our screens, ignoring the true architect of our wakefulness. While poor sleep hygiene certainly plays a role, the psychological root of persistent insomnia is often anxiety about the future, unresolved guilt, and the inability to switch off from the constant cycle of rumination. The body and mind understand that sleep is a vulnerability. It's the moment we must surrender control. For someone whose subconscious mind is screaming a warning that surrender feels impossible, the mind stays active, running scenarios and rehearsing arguments, creating a mental to-do list that simply cannot wait until morning. Think of Mark, a young entrepreneur wrestling with the fear of failure. Every night, as his head hit the pillow, his mind would begin replaying every mistake of the day, followed by catastrophic scenarios of financial ruin. He would manage maybe 3 hours of restless, fractured sleep. His insomnia wasn't about being tired. It was about his psyche believing that if he stopped thinking and planning, the whole fragile structure of his life would collapse. His body was saying, "The threat level is critical. Do not sleep. You must maintain vigilance." Until Mark addressed the core belief that his self-worth was entirely dependent on his business success, finding ways to consciously close out the day, forgive his mistakes, and trust his preparation, no sleeping pill could offer true, restorative rest. The physical symptom was a direct protective function of his overwhelmed emotional state, trying to solve problems in the dark that could only be solved in the light of conscious self-reflection. The digestive system, often referred to as the second brain, offers some of the clearest, most visceral examples of the body speaking. Chronic digestive issues, such as irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, persistent bloating, or acid reflux. The emotional language of the gut relates primarily to holding on to fear, unprocessed emotions, and stress related to immediate, high-stakes situations. The phrase, "I can't stomach this," or "I have a gut feeling," is built into our language for a reason. When we are forced to swallow difficult truths, accept uncomfortable situations, or internalize emotional conflicts that we cannot express or resolve, the gut literally struggles to process its own contents. It's an internal protest. Take David, who developed severe and persistent acid reflux every time he had a major presentation at work. The antacids worked temporarily, but the reflux always returned. The physical problem wasn't overly acidic food. It was the intense, unspoken pressure and self-doubt he was internalizing. He was literally struggling to digest the experience of standing up and speaking his truth, fearing judgment and rejection. The gut, reacting to the emotional terror of the moment, flooded his system with stress hormones that shut down normal digestion and caused an overflow of acid. His reflux was the body screaming, "This situation is too toxic to absorb. It must be rejected immediately." When David started working with a coach to manage his public speaking anxiety, focusing not on the logistics of the presentation, but on the core fear of failure, his reflux subsided completely. The physical system relaxed when the emotional system learned how to safely process the fear. Beyond specific pains, we often encounter the generalized shutdown. Chronic fatigue and lethargy that no amount of rest seems to cure. This isn't just being tired after a long day. This is waking up tired and remaining tired throughout the day, feeling like you are wading through mental molasses. The emotional roots of this profound, generalized fatigue are often burnout, a sustained lack of purpose or meaning, and deep, unacknowledged sadness or depression. When the emotional engine runs empty for too long, the body pulls the emergency brake. It's a survival mechanism saying, "Stop. The cost of running this program is too high. We are initiating a total system shutdown to prevent irreparable damage." Look at Jessica, a dedicated mother and employee who loved her life, but felt a pervasive exhaustion that doctors could not diagnose. All her blood work was fine, but she felt weighted down, unable to enjoy her children or her hobbies. Upon deeper reflection, she realized she hadn't pursued a passion or taken a moment for herself in nearly 5 years. Her entire existence was dedicated to fulfilling the needs of others. The joy was gone, replaced by a sense of endless, meaningless duty. Her fatigue was the physical embodiment of her soul's exhaustion. Her body was pleading, "There is no fuel left. Rediscover joy, or we cannot move." Her recovery didn't come from more sleep, but from scheduling 30 minutes a day for a purely selfish activity: reading, painting, anything that brought back a spark of individual purpose. As the emotional meaning returned to her life, the physical energy followed suit. The mind, finding a reason to restart the engine, finally released the brakes on the body's energy reserves. And then there are the issues that appear on the very surface of our being: skin irritations, eczema, psoriasis, or persistent rashes. The skin is the boundary between your inner world and the external environment. Its emotional vocabulary speaks of boundary issues, feeling exposed or violated, and self-criticism or internal conflict. Rashes and irritations are often the physical manifestation of emotional boundaries being violated, or an internal conflict being externalized. If you feel attacked, criticized, or unable to protect your inner peace, the skin often responds by creating its own physical barrier, an inflammation that screams, "Do not touch, I am protecting myself." Imagine Alex, who developed an inexplicable flare-up of eczema on his hands whenever he had to spend a weekend with his critical, overly demanding in-laws. During the visit, he felt obligated to smile, nod, and agree, swallowing his resentment and the constant feeling of judgment. He couldn't verbally or physically push back against the emotional intrusion, so his skin did it for him. The rash was a visible sign of the internal war, a conflict between the desire to be polite and the desperate need to protect his emotional space. The moment he consciously started saying no to requests that drained him, or gently challenged unfair criticism, his skin, no longer needing to stage a protest, began to clear up. His body was communicating. Your boundaries are being breached. Create a wall. Now, let's address the crucial, attention-grabbing truth that ties all these symptoms together. The turning point in this narrative. The danger of dismissal. What starts as a simple, mild symptom is often a single raindrop in what is quickly becoming an emotional flood. We ignore the tension headache, the restless night, the bloated stomach, the persistent tiredness, until the cumulative force of these ignored messages becomes debilitating. We are masters of masking. We become experts at performing wellness while internally we are falling apart. And this is the danger. The body, being a loyal servant, will keep amplifying the signal until it is impossible to ignore. It will transform the nagging backache into a herniated disc that forces you to rest, the occasional insomnia into chronic sleep deprivation that forces you to seek help, and the mild anxiety into a panic attack that forces you to confront the source of the fear. The most compelling, attention-grabbing element here is the sheer efficiency of the body's communication. It gives you the quiet whisper first. It gives you the chance to make small, proactive changes, to set a boundary, to speak your truth, to process your grief. If you ignore the whisper, it moves to the shout, and the shout often requires intervention, medication, and a massive life upheaval to resolve. The tragedy is that the major illness, the life-altering diagnosis that we fear, is often not a random cosmic punishment, but the final, desperate, and catastrophic attempt by our own internal system to force us to stop living in a way that is killing us emotionally. The solution, then, is not to treat the symptom in isolation, but to learn to listen to the metaphor. When you get a headache, pause and ask, what am I trying to control right now? What burden am I carrying that isn't mine? When you can't sleep, ask, what decision or fear am I ruminating on that needs to be consciously closed out until morning? When your digestion is in knots, ask, what situation am I finding impossible to process, accept, or reject? This pause, this act of self-inquiry, is the single most powerful tool you have to translate the body's language. It is a commitment to seeing the mild physical discomfort not as an inconvenience to be medicated away, but as a priceless piece of feedback, a gentle nudge from your deepest self telling you that your emotional environment is no longer sustainable. This is the work of true self-care, moving beyond bubble baths and scented candles to the difficult, necessary practice of internal truth-telling. It is about honoring the fact that your body is a brilliant barometer, an ally, and a faithful witness to every single moment of your life, both good and bad. And it deserves your attention and respect. It's time to stop overriding the system with temporary fixes and start fixing the root cause, the overloaded, unexpressed, and often wounded emotional core. Your body is speaking right now, subtly, gently, and lovingly, trying to guide you back to balance. Do yourself the biggest favor you can today, and stop what you're doing for a moment. Take a deep breath, and finally, truly, listen. Thank you so much for sticking with this deep dive into the mind-body connection. Your engagement is what allows us to keep exploring these critical topics. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause and consider your own symptoms in a new light, please do not forget to hit that like button to help us reach our goal of 50 likes on this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and join our journey toward reaching 100 subscribers. We have so much more to explore together, and we can't wait to share it with you. Until next time, listen closely to the whispers so you never have to hear the scream.